Ephesians 4, verses 31 and 32 are really foundational, and they basically are going to then jumpstart us into chapter 5 about walking in love. But it's about living this new life. It's about living in the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. And it really sums up what has been said in verses 25 to 29 and 30. And what it is, it says this. It says, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. So it's like if all those things weren't enough to get out of your life, there's malice. It's like, wait a minute. That's a lot of things: bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and slander. So there's 5 things, and then all malice. We're going to look at that. We're going to say, what is this all about? And I know that some of us don't like to dwell on the negative, but if you think about it, a lot of life is wrapped up in these kind of things: life under the sun, life with sinful people, life as sinful people. Following Christ. It's our following is very imperfect, and oftentimes, bitterness will creep in. And Hebrews says, "Don't let a root of bitterness spring up and defile many." So there's bitterness, and then we're going to look at each one of these terms, because I know we've already looked at the beauty of forgiveness, and we need to keep looking at the beauty of forgiveness. To be kind to one another, to be tender-hearted, not hard-hearted, tender-hearted. And then it says to forgive one another, or actively forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. Just like we saw last week, how did God in Christ forgive us? He purchased redemption at the cross. And there's a lot to talk about when we talk about love and forgiveness and being tenderhearted and being kind. And there's a lot that we struggle with when we have the bitterness or the anger or the clamor or the slander or the malice. But Christ overcame what Adam put upon us. Adam, in his sin, put condemnation and death upon the human race, incurring the judgment, the just wrath of God upon us. Christ, in his death on the cross for sin, in our place, dying for sinners, opened up the beautiful freedom of forgiveness, and no longer slaves to sin, no longer under the condemnation of sin, but walking in the freedom of the children of God. And that's what my hope is for you. That is my prayer for you and I, that we would not be weighed down by that sin and that it entangles us, that bitterness and the clamor and the anger and the fighting and the wrath, and instead let it go, put it away, and instead be kind and tenderhearted and forgive each other as God in Christ has forgiven us. I hope you're forgiven in Christ.